Hey everyone, Elizabeth here. The Last Laugh delivers stories that leave you speechless. If you're here for it, hit subscribe and let's go.
The envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning. Cream-colored linen paper, my mother's monogrammed seal pressed into burgundy wax. I knew before opening it that this wouldn't be a simple invitation. The Anderson Family Foundation cordially invites you to our annual charity gala. Black tie required. November 18th, 7 p.m. The Metropolitan Club. Then in my mother's handwriting at the bottom, Maya, your lifestyle doesn't reflect our family values. Perhaps it's best if you reconsider attending. The Hendersons will be there and you know how they talk. Mom. I set it on my kitchen counter next to my laptop, where I'd been reviewing quarterly reports for my investment portfolio. The irony wasn't lost on me. My phone buzzed. Dad, your cousin Jennifer's husband is a federal judge now. Very accomplished family. Your mother thinks it might be awkward if you attend. You understand. I typed back, understood. That was always my response. Understood. No problem. I'd learned years ago that arguing with my family was like throwing water at a brick wall. It accomplished nothing except making me wet and frustrated. My younger sister Emma called 3 hours later. So you got the invitation? I did. And her voice had that edge of anticipation like she was watching a tennis match and waiting for me to swing. And nothing. I'll probably skip it. Good. Mom was worried you'd make a scene or something. You know how she gets about appearances. Emma paused. Blake's parents will be there. His dad owns that pharmaceutical company, so Mom's trying to impress them for the foundation. Blake. My sister's fiancé. Another in a long line of my family's impressive connections that somehow made my own life look diminished by comparison. Tell Mom not to worry, I said. You're not mad. Why would I be mad? I don't know. You've been weird about family stuff lately. Weird. That was their word for my absence from their social climbing. I'd been weird since I stopped attending their dinner parties where I was introduced as our daughter who works in, what is it again, dear? Something with computers. I wasn't weird. I was strategic. My family had always had a specific vision of success and I'd never quite fit the template. My father, Robert Anderson, built Anderson Commercial Properties over 30 years. He developed shopping centers across the Southwest, made smart investments, and by the time I graduated college he was worth somewhere north of $40 million. Respectable. Comfortable. The kind of wealth that bought country club memberships and political connections. My mother, Patricia, came from old money in Connecticut. Not titans of industry money, but the kind where you summered in Martha's Vineyard and knew which fork to use at formal dinners. She married my father because he was ambitious and handsome, and together they built a life that looked perfect from the outside. My sister Emma followed the script perfectly. She went to Yale, studied art history, married a corporate attorney named Blake whose family owned a chain of urgent care clinics. She sat on nonprofit boards, organized fundraisers, and had her picture in the society pages at least once a month. Then there was me. I graduated from USC with a degree in computer science. I moved to a small apartment in Long Beach instead of the upscale neighborhoods my family preferred. I worked for what my mother called one of those tech startups that'll probably fail, and wore jeans to work instead of designer suits. At family dinners the conversation would go like this. Maya's still doing that computer thing, Mom would tell her friends, waving her hand dismissively. It's software development, I'd correct quietly. Whatever it is, it's very modern. The way she said modern made it sound like a disease. Dad was more direct. When are you going to get a real job? Something stable. I could get you into management at the company. I like what I do. You're 32 and you still rent. Emma and Blake just put a down payment on a house in Palos Verdes. Emma would smile sympathetically like she felt sorry for me. Blake would change the subject, uncomfortable with the tension. What they didn't know, what I'd carefully kept from them for 7 years, was that my computer thing had made me very, very successful. I wasn't just a software developer. I was a founding partner of Velocity Systems, an AI-driven logistics platform that revolutionized supply chain management for major retailers. We'd gone from 3 people in a garage to a $280 million valuation in 6 years. I owned 31% of the company. My stake was worth approximately $86 million. But that was only part of it. 4 years ago I'd started angel investing. Small amounts at first, then larger as my confidence grew. I had a particular eye for biotech startups and clean energy companies. My portfolio had grown to include 12 investments, 3 of which had gone public. My total net worth, according to my wealth management team, was approximately $127 million. I lived modestly because I preferred it. My apartment was small but in a neighborhood I loved, near the beach where I ran every morning. I drove a 7-year-old Subaru because it was reliable and I didn't care about impressing anyone. I wore jeans and comfortable shoes because I worked 16-hour days and didn't have time for dry cleaning designer suits. My family saw all of this as evidence of failure. I saw it as evidence that I'd built something real, something that wasn't about appearances. The charity gala they were hosting? The Anderson Family Foundation that my mother ran like her personal social empire? I'd been anonymously donating to it for 3 years. Not large amounts, I didn't want to trigger questions, but enough that I knew I was in the top 10 donors. The irony of being told I'd embarrass them while secretly funding their charitable work was almost funny. Almost. I wasn't going to attend the gala. I'd already made peace with that. Why subject myself to another evening of subtle condescension and awkward comparisons to Emma's perfect life? Then Sarah Chen called. Sarah was the CEO of Meridian Industries, a green technology company I'd invested in during their Series A round. My initial $3 million investment was now worth close to $24 million after their explosive growth in the solar panel market. Maya, we need to talk about the announcement, Sarah said without preamble. She never wasted time on pleasantries. Which announcement? The partnership with Anderson Commercial Properties. We're converting 15 of their shopping centers to solar-powered facilities. It's a $180 million project over 3 years. I sat up straighter. Anderson Commercial? That's my father's company. I know. I did my research when his team approached us. There was a pause. They don't know you're one of my major investors, do they? No. Interesting. I could hear the smile in her voice. We're making the formal announcement at some charity gala on November 18th. Your father invited me personally. Very prestigious event, apparently. My mother's gala. Sarah. I'm bringing you as my +1, she said firmly. This is a major deal for both of us. You deserve to be there when we announce it. Plus, I want my business partner there for support. I don't think that's a good idea. Why not? You're one of my primary investors. You have every right to be there. My family doesn't know about any of this. Then maybe it's time they did. Her voice softened slightly. Maya, you've been hiding your success from them for years. Why? It's complicated. I'm sure it is. But I'm announcing the partnership on the 18th and I'd like you there. As my guest. As my business partner. You can decide what to tell your family or not tell them. But you deserve to be in that room. After we hung up, I stared at the invitation on my counter for a long time. I didn't tell my family I was coming. I simply didn't respond to the invitation, letting them assume I'd taken their advice to stay away. Emma texted twice. You're not coming, right? Mom's been telling everyone you're busy with work. I replied, tell Mom not to worry. The week before the gala, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went shopping for formal wear. Not at the department stores where I usually grabbed basics, but at the boutiques in Beverly Hills where personal shoppers greeted you with champagne. The woman who helped me was named Claire, and she had an eye for elegance without ostentation. What's the occasion? She asked as she pulled dresses. A charity gala. Very formal. Very judgmental. She smiled knowingly. Say no more. We want you to look like you belong there without trying too hard. She found a midnight blue silk gown with clean lines and subtle beading at the shoulders. Simple diamond earrings from an estate jewelry store. Classic heels that added 3 inches to my height. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I looked like I belonged in the same room as my mother's society friends. I looked like I'd always belonged there. The Metropolitan Club was exactly the kind of venue my mother loved. All marble columns and crystal chandeliers, with a pedigree that screamed old money. I arrived with Sarah, who wore a stunning red dress and commanded attention the moment she walked through the door. She'd founded her company at 28 and grown it to a $2.1 billion valuation by 35. She had the kind of presence that made people lean in when she spoke. Ready? She asked me at the entrance. Honestly? No. Good. The best moments happen when we're terrified. We walked in together. The ballroom was filled with exactly the crowd I expected. Men in expensive tuxedos discussing golf handicaps, women in designer gowns comparing vacation homes, everyone holding champagne glasses like they were weapons of social warfare. I spotted my family immediately. They were at a prime table near the front, holding court. My father in his custom tuxedo, my mother in a gold gown that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Emma and Blake looking like they'd stepped out of a wedding magazine. My mother saw me first. Her face went through a fascinating progression of emotions. Confusion, recognition, horror, anger. All in about 3 seconds. She excused herself from her conversation and walked toward me with the kind of purposeful stride that meant I was in trouble. Why? What are you doing here? I was invited. I specifically suggested you not attend. I know. But Miss Chen invited me as her guest. I gestured to Sarah, who was watching this interaction with barely concealed amusement. My mother's eyes narrowed. Miss Chen. Sarah Chen, Sarah said, extending her hand. CEO of Meridian Industries. You must be Mrs. Anderson. I've heard so much about you. My mother's training kicked in automatically. She shook Sarah's hand, her smile practiced and perfect. Of course. My husband is very excited about the partnership announcement tonight. As am I, Sarah said smoothly. I specifically wanted Maya here for it. She's been instrumental in Meridian's success. My mother's smile didn't waver, but I saw the confusion in her eyes. I'm sure that's lovely. Maya, could I speak with you privately? Actually, Sarah interrupted gently, we should find our table. The program's about to start. She guided me away before my mother could protest. We were seated at a table with several of Meridian's executives, people who knew exactly who I was and what I'd contributed to the company. The contrast to my family's table, where I would have been the embarrassing relative they tried to hide, was stark. Dinner was served. Speeches were made. My mother talked about the foundation's work, my father thanked the generous donors, and Emma introduced the evening's special announcement about an exciting new partnership that shows the Anderson family's commitment to sustainable business practices. Then my father took the microphone. We're proud to announce a groundbreaking partnership between Anderson Commercial Properties and Meridian Industries. Over the next 3 years, we'll be converting 15 of our shopping centers to fully solar-powered facilities, making us one of the first commercial real estate companies in the region to commit to this level of environmental responsibility. Applause rippled through the room. I'd like to invite Sarah Chen, CEO of Meridian Industries, to say a few words about this exciting project. Sarah stood, elegant and confident, and walked to the podium. Thank you, Robert. I'm thrilled about this partnership. Meridian has always believed that sustainable energy isn't just good for the planet. It's good for business. This project represents a $180 million investment in the future of commercial real estate. More applause. But I couldn't have built Meridian to where it is today without the support of visionary investors who believed in our mission from the beginning. One of those investors is here tonight, and I'd like to acknowledge her. My heart started pounding. Maya Anderson has been one of Meridian's primary investors since our series of funding round. Her initial $3 million investment helped us scale our operations and develop the technology that makes projects like this possible. Maya, would you stand, please? The room went silent. I stood slowly, aware of every eye in the room turning toward me. My mother's face had gone completely pale. My father's expression was frozen somewhere between confusion and shock. Emma's mouth was literally hanging open. Maya isn't just an investor, Sarah continued. She's been a strategic advisor, a sounding board, and a partner in every sense of the word. Her stake in Meridian is now worth approximately $24 million, and her insights have been invaluable. I'm honored to have her here tonight as we announce this partnership with her family's company. She raised her glass. To Maya Anderson, proving that sometimes the most impressive people are the ones right under our noses. The room erupted in applause. I sat down, my hands shaking slightly. Across the room, my mother looked like she might faint. The moment the speeches ended, my mother appeared at our table. Why? A word. Now. I excused myself and followed her to a quiet corner near the coat check. What? She hissed, her composure finally cracking. Was that? That was Sarah Chen acknowledging one of her investors. You invested $3 million? Where did you get $3 million? From my work. The work you've been dismissing for the past decade. My father joined us, Blake trailing behind him looking uncomfortable. I don't understand, Dad said. You're an investor in Meridian? The company we just partnered with. I'm an investor in 12 companies, Dad. Meridian is just one of them. 12. He stopped, recalculating something in his head. How much are we talking about? Does it matter? Of course it matters. You've been pretending to struggle while apparently sitting on some kind of fortune. I wasn't pretending anything. You assumed I was struggling because I don't live the way you think I should live. Emma appeared, her face flushed. Everyone's talking about you. Do you know how embarrassing this is? Embarrassing? I stared at her. How is this embarrassing? Because we've been telling everyone you're barely getting by. And now it turns out you're some secret millionaire? We look like idiots. The words hung in the air. You look like idiots, I repeated slowly, because it turns out I'm successful? You know what I mean. No, Emma. I don't. Explain it to me. My mother stepped in. This isn't the place. People are watching. You're right, I said. People are watching. They're watching because one of Sarah Chen's major investors is here, and she wanted to acknowledge that. But you can't see it as anything except something that makes you look bad. We're your family, Dad said. Why didn't you tell us? Because of this. This exact reaction. I gestured at all of them. Because no matter what I accomplish, you find a way to make it about how it affects you. Sarah appeared at my elbow. Maya, the mayor wants to meet you. He's interested in discussing some city sustainability initiatives that might align with your investment portfolio. She said it casually, but I saw the message in her eyes. You don't have to stay here. I'll be right there, I told her. I turned back to my family. I need to go. There are people here who actually want to talk about business, not about how my success is inconvenient for you. Maya, my mother started. The invitation said my lifestyle doesn't reflect your family values. You were right. My values are about building things that matter, not about appearances. I'm sorry that embarrasses you. I walked away. Behind me I heard Emma say, did she just walk away from us? Yes, I did. The rest of the evening was surreal. People I'd never met wanted to talk to me. Investors. Entrepreneurs. Even some of my parents' friends, suddenly interested in that tech sector they'd been ignoring for years. The mayor asked about my portfolio. A venture capitalist invited me to speak at a conference. The president of a major bank wanted to discuss opportunities for strategic partnership. I gave them all my business card, the one with my real title, founding partner Velocity Systems, principal Anderson Ventures. Yes, Anderson Ventures. I'd named my investment firm after myself, after my family name. Because despite everything I was still proud of where I came from, even if they weren't proud of me. Around 10 p.m. my phone buzzed. Blake. Maya, can we talk? Outside. I found him on the terrace looking uncomfortable in his tuxedo. I owe you an apology, he said immediately. You do. Emma and we knew you were doing well. Not this well obviously, but we knew. She stalked your LinkedIn once and saw you were listed as a founding partner at Velocity. We didn't want to believe it. Why not? He sighed. Because it was easier to think you were struggling. It made Emma feel better about her own choices. And I went along with it because, honestly, because I'm not brave enough to stand up to your family. His honesty surprised me. Your sister is inside having a meltdown, he continued. Your mother is trying to figure out how to spin this to her friends. Your father is recalculating everything he thought he knew about you. And I'm out here realizing I've been complicit in making you feel small for years. Blake. Let me finish. You didn't deserve that. Any of it. And I'm sorry. For what it's worth, I think what you've built is incredible. Way more impressive than anything I've done. I didn't know what to say to that. Emma wants to talk to you, he said finally. But I told her to wait. To think about what she actually wants to say. Not what she thinks she's supposed to say. Thank you. He nodded and went back inside. I stayed on the terrace looking out at the city lights. I didn't talk to my family again that night. I left with Sarah around 11 p.m., exhausted and emotionally drained. That went well, she said dryly as we waited for our cars. Did it? You handled yourself perfectly. You were gracious, professional, and you didn't let them make you feel small. I call that a win. It doesn't feel like a win. Give it time. My family didn't contact me for 3 days. Then on Thursday morning my father called. Why? I'd like to take you to lunch. Just the two of us. No your mother, no Emma. I'd like to talk. We met at a quiet restaurant in Santa Monica. He looked older than I remembered, or maybe I just hadn't looked at him closely in years. I owe you an apology, he said after we ordered. A lot of people seem to think that lately. I'm serious. Your mother and I failed you. We made assumptions about your life because we were too proud to ask questions. We treated your choices as failures because they didn't match our vision of success. Dad. Let me finish. I've spent the last 3 days doing research. I looked up velocity systems. I read about your investments. I talked to people who know the tech industry. He paused. You're worth more than I am, aren't you? It's not a competition. I know. But I need to know. Roughly. About $127 million. Give or take. He absorbed that. And you drive that old Subaru. It works. You live in that small apartment. I like the neighborhood. You wore jeans to Christmas dinner. They're comfortable. He laughed, a short, sharp sound. Your mother spent $80,000 on a car last year to impress her friends. You're worth over $100 million and you drive a Subaru. Different priorities. Yeah. He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. I don't know you at all, do I? You never asked. I'm asking now. Tell me about your work. Your investments. Your life. All of it. So I did. We talked for 3 hours. I told him about Velocity, about the early days when we weren't sure we'd make payroll. About the moment we landed our first major client. About the angel investments, the wins and the losses. About building something that mattered to me. He listened. Really listened. Why didn't you tell us? He asked finally. Would you have believed me? He was quiet for a long moment. Probably not. No. There's your answer. We would now. I know. But that's only because Sarah made it impossible to deny. If it had been just me telling you I was successful, would you have taken me seriously? He didn't answer, which was answer enough. Your mother wants to have dinner, he said finally. All of us. She wants to. I think the word she used was reset. I'll think about it. That's fair. He signaled for the check. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. I should have said that years ago. I'm saying it now. It didn't fix everything. It didn't erase years of dismissal and condescension. But it was something. Thanks, Dad. The family dinner happened eventually. It was awkward and stilted and occasionally painful, but we got through it. My mother apologized in her own way, through actions rather than words. She invited me to join the foundation's board. Asked my advice on investment strategies for their endowment. Introduced me to her friends as my daughter, the tech entrepreneur, instead of my daughter who does something with computers. Emma took longer. We met for coffee 6 weeks after the gala. She apologized for making me feel small. I apologized for not trying harder to connect with her. We agreed to start over slowly. Blake and I became unlikely friends. He confessed that he was thinking about leaving law to start his own consulting firm. I offered to introduce him to some people. He said he might actually take me up on that. The partnership between Anderson Commercial Properties and Meridian Industries moved forward. My father asked my advice on the contract terms. I gave it to him. Velocity Systems raised a Series C round in January, bringing our valuation to $520 million. My stake was now worth approximately $161 million. I still drove the Subaru. Still lived in the same apartment. Still wore jeans to work. But now when I went to family events, I didn't feel like I had to hide who I was or what I'd built. The invitation to my mother's spring fundraiser arrived in March. Cream-colored linen paper, her monogrammed seal. Maya, your presence is requested. We'd be honored to have you there. Please bring a guest if you'd like. Mom. No caveats. No suggestions to reconsider. No mentions of my lifestyle not reflecting their values. Just an invitation. I RSVP'd yes. Progress, I decided, looked a lot like this. Small, imperfect, but unmistakably real. And sometimes that was enough.